All right, what is going on, everyone? Just to let you know, I am Eric Velasquez, and I am basically interviewing all the candidates for San Antonio City Council and the mayoral elections. Reaching out to every single person, no matter who they are, I don't care. I am reaching all the way through the ballot because everybody deserves an equal shot, an equal chance for a platform. That's what I'm here to do. So that's who I am, and let me go ahead and bring on our next guest here. Hello, how are you?
Great. How are you, Eric?
Good, Marcello. So, I know you've been busy, and there's been a lot of stuff that you've had to do. So, let's go ahead and just introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are.
Well, hello. My name is Marcello Martinez. I'm native of San Antonio. I'm an architect. I own my own firm here in town for about 8 years now. I have two daughters. One of them is in Trinity. One of them is at TMI. We're very proud of them. And I've always been involved in service. In fact, I was a planning commissioner for the city for 8 years. I can certainly talk about that process. I've been on several nonprofit boards. I use my architecture firm to give back quite a bit. I'm trying to look into the camera, but I'm looking down. So
I know, right? It's all right, me too.
So this, if my eye line wanders, I want. It's a laptop, and I'm not really this red. Yeah. Usually, I wear glasses, but I can't see. So all kinds of things are happening that are not traditional.
Sorry, man.
No. So I love service. I love helping, and in fact, so I my work. I do work. I do projects and to better the city, but then I give away a lot of work for nonprofits because I love the mission-based culture that we have. And in that time, as well as my time on Planning Commission, I have come to understand how many people are impacted by decisions made at the city level. So you can help your neighbor, wonderful. I try to help my neighbor. You can help your neighborhood, great, or you can try to help the entire city. I mean, that's or your entire district.
Right.
And so me trying to maybe bring my skill set to that level it was inspired me to do this.
Cool. And kind of, if you don't mind, maybe give us a little bit of a reference of, what are some of the things that you have done to give back a little bit?
Oh, I'd be happy to. Thank you for asking. So my first nonprofit board, maybe 20 years ago. It was a lot of gray, so it was a while back. My first nonprofit.
Me too.
So I was on the YMCA, and in fact, with the YMCA, helped get a couple of new branch locations. And so my efforts were there to use, and as you know, like a YMCA branch turns no one away. So if you can't afford to pay, you go to the Y and they'll help you. Right. So by helping establish a couple of branches, a couple of buildings, look how much it gets paid forward, for example. I was on the Children's Museum board when they were still downtown on Houston Street, and now they have this wonderful facility on Broadway. So, being part of that effort.
Which museum?
The San Antonio Children's Museum.
Oh, yeah.
I think you may be too old. I mean, you're welcome.
No, I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. Yeah, especially because I have my kids. They're 3 and 4, so we go to the museum. So
wonderful. Yeah, the museum. It got rebranded. So I remember it from the old name.
Right.
But it's been rebranded. I get the email.
Yeah, definitely. And just a reminder for anybody watching on Facebook, if you or on YouTube, if you want to ask a question, please do so. I'm going to share the link down in the comments. You can so you can go ahead and jump in and ask, or you could just type it in the comments and we could display it on the screen. It's up to you.
So Eric, could I ask a question of myself? Yes. Would that be? No, I'm just curious.
Hey, if we don't get to a question and you really want to say it for sure, like definitely.
Okay, great.
So I'm going to start off a little bit lighter.
Okay.
So what are your 3 favorite small business restaurants in District 3?
Well, Lala's Gorditas.
Okay.
I would say that's a really good on Roosevelt. Have you been there?
I haven't. No.
Okay, so it's by the Missions. So I love it, but I try not to love it too much because I want to be healthy.
We're plagued with good food. That's
Yes.
the bad thing.
Yeah, and so that's a great choice. And they moved locations. They closed for a little bit, but they reopened. There's a Taco Haven. And when I say Taco Haven, everyone thinks of the one in Southtown, but there's one on Goliad. What's on Steve's now?
Steve's, yeah. I went there and they had some good puffy tacos. So
yes.
my friend April from Live from the South Side, go hit up her magazine. She's the first Latina owned South Side magazine. So definitely go. And she showed me that place and it was really good.
And then they left us, but I wanted to come back. But there was a Folklorist coffee shop.
Oh yeah.
They're now in 2. Hey, man, come on back.
They are going to come back.
All right. Okay.
I talked to Emily, and she was saying that they're going to come back, but they're just trying to work some things out, and they're good people. So definitely. I think the place that replaced it was Hash Vegan.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And my wife was upset. She was like, "Why are all the vegan places on the South Side and there's none of it and I'm like, well, I don't know, because there's also Blissful Burgers is really good for vegan. I'm not a vegan
because the South Side is the place to be.
It is. There you go. Yeah. I want to move back to the South Side because I grew up on the South Side. So
great. Where did you grow up?
Off of Nogalitos.
Oh, great.
So, I went to Burbank. So
nice.
So what? Okay, time to get into the nitty gritty. And again, anybody watching, if you want to ask a question, please do. This is a perfect time to find out from your candidates. There's a lot of people in District 3 that are running, so we want to make sure we get to everybody. We want to make sure that we ask these people everything because there's no incumbent. There's it's all somewhat level playing field. So
democracy, here we go.
Democracy, yeah. So please jump in and ask. The link is right there on which side? Yeah, it's over there on the the right side, or in Facebook it's on the bottom. So definitely ask a question, or you can jump in. So what would be the first item of business you would like to accomplish if you do get elected into office?
So the reason I'm doing this is really to think long term. So we have short-term goals and we have long-term goals. And so the only problem with long-term is it takes a long time. And so early on, I want to launch some long-term initiatives. And so I'm an architect and my buildings take a long time. For example, like I understand how long it takes to design and build a building, and the city takes even longer. Urban development takes a long time.
Right.
The voters have decided the council members should have 2-year cycles, and that's what we want. So that's where we are. One of the consequences is everyone needs a short-term win. I mean, if you want to get reelected, you kind of have a window to get things done, which is lovely. And I'm also going to do short-term things, but I want to make sure we do not neglect long-term goals. And so what I mean by that is use, like you're a good example. I talk to a lot of people. I'm running for District 3. Oh, I'm from there. I grew up there. Like, well, you're not there now.
Right.
I hear that a lot. And why not? It's great. And so let's make the greatness more obvious. So let's take some corridors and really focus on a master plan and try and think of ways to spur that economic development to make it even more attractive. And so, but that takes a while. I'm not naive in that. I think that'll be happening in a month or so, but get those things started so that they can come to fruition. Right.
And what I noticed is that a lot of people weren't selling their homes, and that was the thing. That, or it was a complete fixer-upper, and it was like, man, I don't think I could take on a fixer-upper kind of thing, So
that's easier than you think. You can do it.
Yeah. So, but then here's the next question to that is the property taxes, right? With people coming in, and, okay, yes, we want people to be in D3, but then you start the process of, I mean, not start because it's been there, but that gentrification. So you as an architect and building, what are some promises you can guarantee? Not, I mean, I know you can't guarantee. I know you can't guarantee, but what are some things that you would like to tell the people to have confidence in you to say, look, we're going to try to do everything we can to not have gentrification in D3, even though because they see you as an architect, they're going to start assuming you with maybe some real estate agents. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
So what can you say to that?
That's a great question. And, so Highland Park is a really good example of a neighborhood that's established. It's beautiful homes, sort of craftsman style. It was actually built by a developer, and people, it's just a long time ago.
Right.
And so I recognize the poison of the word gentrification. There's also another term out there called gentification. And the thing about urban development, it's not a zero-sum game. I mean, there's room for everybody. So if you do it right. What the world doesn't like is monocultures. So if you just come in and just, I want to pave this and I want to build a big luxury condominium and that's it, everyone else get out. Well, that's what I would call a monoculture. There's only one option there.
Right.
A smarter way to do it is multiple options. So let's bring in some new elements, but let's keep what we have. And that's then that makes a fabric. I'm plugging with my hands, but they're outside the camera. That makes a fabric that is interesting, and exciting. And then so these coffee shops or the bookstores or the restaurants that we all love, they all need customers. I mean, customers are good. And then customers, we also need public spaces. We need green spaces. We need the creek trails.
Right.
And so there's this sort of binary game that either things stay where they are, my property taxes are low, or new people come in and I have to leave. I mean, that's a false choice. I know how it's presented, but there's another choice, and let's integrate everyone together in a thoughtful plan.
Well, I think because that's what's happening. You know what I mean? It is happening. So I agree. I think people see either one or the other. So
no, you're absolutely right, and I didn't mean to say it isn't. My point is, it's happening because there's not someone there pushing for another option, which is what I'm saying that I would do.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
So exactly. That's exactly what. Thank you for making my point more clear.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't want anybody to be like, what,
Yes.
And again, if anybody wants to ask a question, please do so. You can click on the link and then you just jump in and you can ask the question directly. Or you could do it on the comments. So what are some of the things that you feel that have not been addressed in District 3? I've heard a lot, but I want to hear your take on.
Well, we certainly have the struggles everyone has. I mean, so we're in District 3. We're very much concerned with public response time of our police and fire. Definitely want to focus on that, increasing response time. We have a stray animal issue. We want to look at. We need to make sure we take care of our seniors. Senior services are very important. Those are all things. We have streets and drainage. So the thing about infrastructure is it's very important. So private investment follows public investment. So with quality infrastructure, and complete streets, meaning cars, bicycles, pedestrians, and those little zippy scooters that are everywhere. Right. I mean, they're all transportation. Transportation completeness is what we should be after. And with that infrastructure in place, then people are going to want to stay, want to come back, want to come for the first time. I was listening to a presentation by Leo Gomez the other day, and he said, a lot of paychecks get on the highway and go north at the end of the workday, and they leave this area. Mm-hmm. And so he says, why don't we keep those dollars here and have them go through the local economy of District 3 a few times? before they just get on out the door. And so that's what I mean by stimulating that investment.
Now, I'm really curious to hear what your thoughts about this. Do you think we are getting too big for our infrastructure, that we're inviting too many outside entities or companies, businesses, or people to come in our city? We're expanding, right? Which is good. Yeah, we're expanding and everything, but is it hurting our current infrastructure to where we can't maintain our own infrastructure and help the people that are already here?
Well, are you talking about the grid failure, the blizzard?
No,
Okay.
no.
Is
I'm
this an
talking about
ERCOT question?
just
Okay. No,
roads
just
and
making
lighting,
sure.
you know. Yeah, we'll get to that later. So I mean, yeah. Do you think we're getting too big for our infrastructure? We're not taking care of what, and I've heard people talk about it.
So I would phrase it this way. When the city was developed, we spent more of our GDP on infrastructure than we do today. So as we continue to grow, because we're going to grow regardless, we're not, it's just going to happen. So we need to be aware of it and plan for it. So part of that would be, well, let's invest in the infrastructure more, first of all. And secondarily, we have places in San Antonio, like District 3, that are close to established infrastructure that can absorb more people intelligently.
Mm-hmm.
So too big for our infrastructure, it's, again, in a sense, it doesn't really make sense, because the infrastructure was designed, my hands are going opposite the camera. The infrastructure was designed for a certain amount of people. And as the people grow, well, the infrastructure just has to catch up. And so
Right.
that's what leaders are supposed to do. Let's project, let's look forward.
Right. But but that's the thing, is I don't think those leaders are taking care of that. You know what I mean? Like, the infrastructure is really taking
a bit. I mean, that's a bit harsh. I think every leader that I think there are plenty who are, I guess is what I'm saying. And not everyone is. Certainly there's some on both sides. But I would say my goal would be to add my voice to, hey, let's reinvest in our city. So we benefit. You and I love the river. I'm going to presume you love the Riverwalk. Is that a true statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that's infrastructure that was
Right.
built by a previous generation.
Mm-hmm.
So we're benefiting from the investment that generation made, and then our kids are going to continue to benefit from that investment. Mm-hmm. Well, our generation also needs to make an investment in the city infrastructure, and not just keep living off of what the past invested in.
Right. So what do you think that you can improve on from the current elected official? And nothing in a negative way, but just in
well, there's no incumbent. I'm not running against anybody. There's no incumbent,
right.
is what I would say. So I would more phrase it as, I have a vision for what I want to do. And I want to make sure.
Well, what I mean is that, is there something that you see that is currently in place that maybe you think you would like to improve on? Is what I mean.
Yes, and yes is the short answer. We have the missions in District 3, and we have Brooks in District 3, which are great. We touch Texas A&M, for example.
Yeah.
We have these great touchstones. We have several fantastic avenues into downtown through District 3, several arteries that connect.
Right.
And I really see those arteries as an opportunity for a grander vision to bring more excitement to District 3. Does that make sense? And so that's what I would say. And so it's not that my point is, I want to push a vision forward for that growth. And Roosevelt is a great opportunity. Goliad is a great opportunity. I mean, South Cross is the only street that goes all the way east and west. And so I think that we have a lot of great avenues, arteries, where we can make destinations out of them.
Right. I remember the old. I don't know if you remember the old theme park that was off of Roosevelt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the roller coaster.
Yes, yes.
I missed that one. So what's your plan on bridging the gap between city council and the citizens themselves? Like to bring some more community engagement. I guess you kind of talked about it right now, but maybe a little bit more, to where you're getting information and resources to the people.
Well, thank you. We have a plan for a lot of outreach. I want to know what everyone's thinking, and so we're going to have a large team gathering information. I want to make sure what we do have in 3 are just very strong and organized neighbor associations. So I really appreciate the work they're doing. And so I want to make sure that the conduit of information to the neighbor associations is open, and that their input is on these master plan projects is heard. And then additionally, make sure we publicize to people who maybe don't make the neighborhood meeting, they still get a chance to see it.
Right.
And so we want to make sure we get the information out in multiple avenues.
Definitely. And again, anybody watching, please jump in and ask a question. If you'd like to ask a question yourself, you can actually jump in and actually ask the question, or you could put a comment in the comment box. So I know you had talked about the police as far as response times and things like that. What's your take on the whole issue with the removal of those chapters and also going forward with all the instability between these entities, I guess?
My understanding is right now we have new leadership on both sides of the aisle there. New leadership with the police, new leadership at the city. And I'm a big fan of sitting down around a table and talking. My job has seen all kinds of difficult meetings where we seem very far apart, but after we talk, well, we have more in common than we thought. And so I want to make sure we maintain a dialogue with the police and fire and the city to hash out whatever differences there are. I would contend we have more in common than we have apart. I do know that to achieve greater response times, we need more officers. So I don't want to make a barrier for officers to join or firefighters to join. And so making sure we're working out our differences together through communication would be a critical step.
Do you think there does need to be some accountability for the police officers?
Absolutely, of course, and they would say the same thing. I have several cousins and family members who are on the police force. They also don't like unethical officers. So I mean, that's not anti-police. There's this sort of, again, kind of a misnomer. There's no police officer that likes bad police officers. So right. I mean, yeah. I think they would agree.
Where are we at? What would you like to do in form of reducing spending and being more efficient with the city budget?
The issue there is about focus, and so I want to make sure we invest in things that have a great payoff, for example. And so when you're talking about spending, it's important to spend on certain things. Like I think Pre-K for SA, for example, has been a great program that's been around for some years now. It's important that we maintain. You brought up infrastructure a while ago. Mm-hmm. So do you help the infrastructure by spending less on it? Well, no, of course not. Mm-hmm. You help the infrastructure by investing in it, but then that creates more development, which then raises your tax base. So that wasn't an expense, that was an investment that mm-hmm. then brought more dollars in. So that it's a way of spending the dollars where we need to help our neighbors. We're a first world country. We need to help those in need.
Definitely. Now with that, The homeless issue, the homeless population has been a pretty active issue, um, and so in some places more than not, but for sure District 3 as well. So, what is your vision for that to maybe help combat that? Because in District 10, I know we've thrown money at it. Not we, but I'm just saying that as
Hmm.
far as District 10 has thrown money at
Hmm.
it, I think District 9 and they're just basically just moving away, but it's not fixing the issue. So what would you like to see? What kind of vision would you like to see for that?
That's a great question. Part of the issue is there's not a one size fits all solution, because part of you look at the phrase homeless people, well, those are people,
Hmm.
first of all. And if think of the people you know in your life, how different they all are. If you're going to have dinner with somebody, with this friend versus that friend, you may have a different conversation.
Right.
So similar to when you
Sometimes we
approach,
don't like our family, so
yeah, exactly. So certain family members you're going to invite to the ball game. Certain family
right.
members you may not.
Yeah, yeah.
But my point there is different people require different approaches. And so if we try to make a one size fits all
Oh
solution,
man, thank you for saying that.
it may not be it may work for some people. You kind of got lucky and this helped this type of person, but this type of person needs something else.
Right.
And so I believe we need to learn about hey, who are you? Let me say hello. Let me meet you where you are. Let me understand what your particular unique needs are. And then here are the services. Here are the opportunities you have. Um, and so it's that type of approach is what I would endorse.
Thank you. Josie said, "Thank you for saying that. Nobody dislikes a bad officer more than a good officer, and then wanting police accountability does not mean anti-police."
Thank you, Josie. And I think that message gets lost. And so I'm glad to hear more people, others agree.
Definitely. During the snow apocalypse, 2021, we found
Hmm.
that elderly disabled residents of Baja Run apartments were left to fend for themselves in deadly freezing conditions alone without food and water, particularly Lewis Chapman in your district. How did you handle outreach efforts during these times? How would you ensure something like this won't happen again?
It's a great question. Right now, there's a committee that the mayor has established to investigate what the city can do. Of course, some of these failures were at a state level. Perhaps if you're educated in the effort in the what happened, you see this, it's a state level issue in some ways. But then, what can we as a city do? And so we're doing a post mortem right now. It's happening. What I would and so we're going to get that soon. But what I would also add to the equation is what you don't fix your roof when it's raining. You fix your roof when the sun is out.
Yeah.
And so right now the sun is out. And so what can we do to fix our homes? And on an individual home level, can we add insulation? Can we weatherproof? What can we do to weatherize our homes? Like that's the first level. And then as a neighborhood, what can we do? And then can we be more efficient about using water a couple of different times? Can I add solar to my house? Is that because we have several programs for that to take more advantage of other ways of bringing energy and making our home more weather tight individually, so that my heating load is lower because my house has more insulation, for example. And then at a city level, what can we do to our plants to weatherize? What can we do to have backups? Those are great questions that are being studied as we speak, because we recognize we will likely have another cold snap in the future.
Hmm. Definitely. Um, something that a lot of people aren't talking about is maybe having some vertical gardens in these senior homes. That way they can have access indoors or,
Hmm.
and actually have a garden inside and they don't have
Yeah,
to go outside.
absolutely. Vertical gardens, reusing your water, collecting rainwater, lots of things we can do uh, in that arena.
Definitely. And again, if anybody, whoever's watching, you can come in and ask a question in the comments, or you can click on the link that I have posted on there, and you can actually come in and ask the question directly. You could
You
leave your
asked
camera.
about. Sorry, go ahead.
You could leave your camera off if you'd like to, or you leave your camera on. It's up to you. But you can ask the question. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you asked about homelessness, and then we also had a police comment.
Oh.
I wanted to mention it's important to have trauma-informed police officers. So, because homelessness has different root causes: mental health, unemployment, domestic violence. I mean, there's lots of different root causes. Like I was saying, there's not a one-size-fits-all. And many times, the person that they see first is the police officer. And so we need to train that individual with trauma-informed approaches. Just something I wanted to add.
Yeah, definitely. And I think some people have said, some candidates have said, there's no need for training, like no need to fix the training. Do you think we need to fix the training? I mean, obviously with that you said, but from the core level, from the beginning stages.
So I'm a licensed architect, and I feel like I know what I'm doing, but I'm required to get new training every year to keep my license. So we never stop learning, is what I would say.
Exactly.
I don't care who you are or what you're doing.
Exactly.
If you think you stop learning, you're maybe 6 feet under.
Right. So what was it like for you to just think about running to just full-blown commitment? Because it's not easy. Definitely not easy to run, not to throw your head in the ring. Not everything's public. So, so what was it like for you?
Well, thank you. I actually thought about it a few years ago, in fact. But at that time, my daughters were younger, and I thought, let me make sure I'm here in those years for them, because they'll be young once. And of course, I have one in college, one is an adult, and one is in high school, and she's basically an adult. So I said, I think I have more time to give for, so that sort of answered the why now question versus why earlier. But I'm very grateful for my life, I would say. Like I went to Central Catholic, I went to UT Austin. I really feel like I've been given a bounty. I'm able to pursue my passion. I love my job. And so I feel fortunate and grateful for that. And I have energy and industry knowledge that I could use to help. And so it's really like that calling to, with what you've been given, give back as much as you can. And that's really what's driving me in this effort.
And because I haven't asked some of these questions, but like, how can you let people know that you relate to them, that you're not far removed from the community itself? Just because, a lot of the candidates that I spoke to, either they're, they have just a regular, simple job or whatever it is. And so how can you tell the people how you can relate and how you're not so far removed from the community itself?
Well, if I ever get a big head, I have a line of people ready to hit me upside of it. So
you won't pull a Ted Cruz. You won't pull a Ted Cruz.
I have volunteers. I have block walking volunteers, but I have people that want to hit me on the back of the head volunteers. So I'm in a sense I'm covered there. But on the other hand, I'll tell you a little bit about my profession. I know maybe architecture sounds a bit esoteric, but my job is to make a place for people to do what they do. So I continually study the people around us. Like that's my profession. Yeah. And when I make a restaurant, the restaurateur wants me to make sure people come. When I design a convenience store, I tell the owner, look, you better make sure those bathrooms are clean, because that's what people care about. So
definitely,
I very much am part of what everyone is doing all around us. That's how I make my living.
Cool. And I think it's important for people to know that, because it's a question that maybe some people might think, right? But maybe don't want to ask. And again, when I hear architect, people, it's one of those like, oh, I want to be an architect when I grow up, or something like that.
Like the number one party topic.
Right. And so then that question comes to mind is, how are you one of us, or how are you, what I mean?
Well, whoever decided not to do it, you probably made the right decision, because it's a pain in the ass. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Oh, okay.
But Fernando says, which class of CC is that for?
89. What about you, Fernando?
Oh, no relation. We're not. We don't have a relation.
Okay, yeah.
We're not related.
Well, that's not related to me either. 1989, Fernando. So this is a fellow Central boy. So esoteric is a bit of an esoteric word. I mean, he's not wrong.
So let's get into that whole CPS energy topic.
Yes, sir.
Do you think maybe? Do you think we could have done anything different as a city council? And do you think that? Yeah, let's do that. Do you think that we could have done something as a city council, or do you just think that it was just way out of our hands?
Well, certainly the ERCOT grid is out of our hands. Like we can complain, we can keep a message alive. I think there were efforts to educate everybody what was coming, and perhaps those efforts could have been stronger. Perhaps people could have been warned, hey, why don't you take every container in your home and fill it up with water, so that just the tap is fine right now. Make sure they're all full, just in case. Perhaps something like that. Why don't you make sure you have enough blankets? Things like maybe something a little simple, like cold is coming. Is I get cold. Maybe I'm thinking as I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And so, but kind of lessons learned. It's like, okay, next time, cold is coming. Remember back in 2021 when this happened, we didn't have water for a few days. We didn't have this for a few days. Why don't you take these sort of bullet list items of things to prepare your household for what's coming?
Right.
And then, of course, in COVID, maybe it's a bit difficult, but maybe could you combine two households? Does that make more sense? Perhaps, if you have a family member or something.
Some people didn't have the choice; they had to. They were like,
yeah. No, I have lots of friends who said, "Well, let me go here and I'm going to go there," and
right.
But maybe planning ahead a little bit next time around, and then bring all your food or bring a bunch of water, and then okay, we're gonna sit it out.
And something that I've been telling a couple of the interviews is people that are in my like social media pages, influencers and people like me, were giving out more information to the people than the city was.
Yeah.
And that wasn't. It's not good. you know?
Yes.
So, it's something that definitely needs to be worked on. I mean, if you can get a text for the COVID stuff, you should have probably gotten a text for something like that.
I know we have an emergency operations center in the city, but maybe we need an emergency operations outreach line.
Right. Yeah,
so
exactly.
To get that message out there.
Michael Berlanga said, what is your response to what you can do to reduce the property tax burden? We kind of talked about, but go ahead and.
Well, I mean, it's a great question. So there are ways to protest. And so part of what I want to do is make sure the citizens know how to do that. A good friend of mine, she successfully purchased her taxes, but she had to kind of figure it out on her own and did lots of brave things to do it. And so not everyone has that gumption. But look, it can be done. Here are the steps. And so I want to educate the citizens. Say, here's what you do to protest that.
Definitely. And I know I held a class, and I'm going to do one now for sure because I do it for my home association. And so I'm going to do one and basically showing you what to expect, what to look at. Because, you can do it. I was able to knock down $23,000 from my
nice.
increase. So it can be done, but you have to do it every single year. And that's the website down below, bcad.org, to protest.
Speaking of that, Eric, the city does have emergency home repair services.
Yeah.
So right now there's busted pipes, and on my Facebook page, Marcello Martinez for D3, I have links to those emergency repair services.
Yes, definitely. make sure you guys do that if you need to. There's a ton of services. Well, I think there's also a survey that you can do as well that they're asking for, just to get a better idea. Um, and then also, I think Michael had another question. Do you or did you support the Alamo Reimagined Plan and the use of state county local tax dollars to transform existing Alamo into, including but not limited to moving the cenotaph?
Michael, that's District 1.
Yeah.
I'm ready for District 3. The Alamo's in District 1.
But I guess
no, I'm joking. I'm joking. I know it's a hot button issue and it's very, very vocal, and it had all these things. What I'll say is I definitely support investing in Alamo Plaza. I think so. I have plenty of friends. This is not unique to me, who have heard about the Alamo. They come to see it and they go, "That's it." Like, they're underwhelmed. And one of the messages is that the Alamo building that we think of, that's the chapel of the Alamo is really the square. I'm making the square in front of the Alamo is really where the story is. And so one of the main goals of the master plan was to really recapture the story and retell the complete story. And it actually is a much more impressive space than we give it credit for, because we push this one-story limestone building as the Alamo, when the Alamo is really this large rectangle of land in the middle of downtown. And it's an amazing part of our history. It's one of the number one tourist attraction. It has these great stories, all these history. And so telling that story better, I support 100%.
Okay. So what, how do you feel about possibly putting a cap on campaign contribution limits? And I mean as a whole. So a campaign can only get, a certain amount of campaign contributions and do it that way.
I like the concept quite a bit. I would say the reality may be different. Let's say that passes. Well, you have an independent PAC over here that I'm not affiliated with the candidate, but I'm going to do this. And so there's so many workarounds for something like that I could foresee, that if you put that in place, in an effort to level the playing field, which I respect, like I kind of, part of what I kind of hear, like, make a level playing field, which I like also. But I just don't know that it would accomplish that. I think it would actually hurt those that I can see a negative, I guess is what I'm saying. I love the concept. Does that make sense? But I don't know that it would have the intended effect if it did happen.
Okay. What negative do you see from it though?
Well, for example, so let's say this candidate, let me keep my hand over here. This candidate has more of an outreach, and they can get several political action committees supporting them that spend a lot more money, where this candidate over here could have raised more money as an individual, but doesn't have any PAC behind him, but the voice is smaller because the individual had to do the fundraising and can't because of this limit. Having said that, if that gets solved, I mean, if we can chase down all the negatives, I do support the concept.
Okay. Mike Burlington, I am familiar with the protest process. That was
serving the BCAD board help achieve reform. Well, I'm definitely about transparency and definitely about accountability, and no part of government doesn't deserve to get looked at again. And so definitely BCAD could be looked at and say, hey, are we just wrong? Let's fix it.
And again, if anybody would like to ask a question, please click on the link that I posted in the comment box, and you can click on it and you can jump in directly and ask a question. Also, something kind of similar with the campaign stuff. Have you ever looked into doing a different type of election system, like ranked choice voting?
Ranked choice voting?
Ranked choice.
Ranked choice.
Yeah.
On the ballot where you do 1, 2, and 3, sort of right. You do the runoff while you're doing the main general election.
Right. So there's no runoff which is crucial because San Antonio tends to have really low runoff participation, and it costs $8 to $10 million every time just to put one of those on. So,
so I'm in favor of election reform and not spending dollars we don't need to spend.
Right.
So if we can find a way to do it better and more cost effective, I'm all for it.
Definitely. And with ranked choice voting, for anybody's watching, it's basically you can pick multiple candidates in rank of order, and if your person doesn't win, then your rest of your votes go to the next
second
people.
Choice, third choice.
Your second choice, third point. So it would bring a little bit more unity between the candidates, so to say, because they're going to want that person's next second choice for their voter base. And then also it would start to change the dynamic between the duality of our polarization of our politics to where it's only left or right. You have to pick one of those, and it's because it's very toxic. I mean, we saw this in November. It's very toxic, and it gets out of hand, and it divides us as a whole. So I'm glad you're willing to look at that and things like that. So, Lisa said, Marcello, thanks for running. It's so exciting to have your candidate run who wants to give back to your community, but also understands the infrastructure of our entire city.
Oh, thank you very much.
And again, if anybody has a question before we wrap up, please do so or click the link that I posted in the box. Before we do that, is there anything that you want to maybe talk about that maybe we didn't?
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
So how do you feel about that question?
I don't think there's a place for foul language. How's that? Even though I maybe said something unquestionable in this podcast. So. Is this a podcast? Is that the right word? No, this is what would you call this?
Yeah, it's a podcast, I guess.
Yeah, my younger daughter made fun of me. She was like, "Dad, your Instagram page is non-existent." I was like, "I have an Instagram page."
You got to, man. You got to.
No, I know. She's telling me. I need to do these things.
But so, is there anything that you want to say to the people that maybe we didn't get to cover?
Well, I like the idea that the concept you said about not thinking binary, and it's easy to think binary, like left or right, red or blue, very easy. But short term or long term, I said no, short term and long term. We can do more than one thing. And so I think that's what I want to say. It's and like the lady who said, it's like, well, are you for police reform or against? No. We need to. It's a complex issue. Like we need to have nuance in our thinking and nuance in our political discourse, and in our goals. We need to have goals that do more than one thing. Fix the infrastructure, keep our streets going, invest in our current needs, and let's plan for the future, and let's have some big ideas and get visionary growth. So I like the idea of not just having a binary train of thought.
Cool. And again, if there's anybody else that wants to ask one more question, please do so. But what was I going to say? Before we wrap up, what are some of the things that you really love about D3?
Well, D3, it has what I call it. It has the past, the present, and the future of San Antonio, all in D3. So we have the missions. Like that's where San Antonio was born. We came, and that's our earliest. Of course, La Vita is not in 3, but it's okay. And then we have the present. I mean, we have our generations growing. We have a great we have a lot of pride in our schools in D3, and then we're making the future at Texas A&M and at Brooks and that kind of thinking. So when you were talking about people coming to San Antonio, I was going to say, hey, we make a big table. You're welcome to sit at our table, and when you come here, you'll bring your wraps and stuff, but in a couple of days you're going to be eating tacos.
Right.
so that's what I think 3 has, is that we have a spirit of San Antonio, and and there's generations that are there. Like people have been here for generations, and it's a very, very stable part of San Antonio, and has a strong culture. And so I think it's a great place to instill the next area of growth for our city.
Definitely. Bruno says, any urban planning background?
Thank you, Fernando. Yes, sir. I'm an architect, and so we also work on the city quite a bit. But I was a planning commissioner for 8 years for the city of San Antonio. We looked at master plans. I was on several master plans for the city as a participant, as an architect, and have looked at all the growth and the sector plans and the neighborhood plans, and quite a bit.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on and just, answering these questions and how can people get a hold of you?
So you see my name there, Marcello Martinez. Go to marcellomartinez.com. We kept it simple. And then you'll see a link to my bio, a link to some more detail on my platform. And then there's an email address on that webpage, marcellomartinez.com. 2 L's in Marcello. I thank my mom for that. My whole life I've been saying 2 L's in Marcello. And that's how they can find me.
All right. Does that look right?
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. And Eric, please go to the website today and let me know what you think.
Yeah, definitely. And are you asking for volunteers and stuff like that? Do you want to?
Yeah, thank you. So this Sunday, if it doesn't rain, this Sunday at Tandem Coffee, we're going to have a Meet the Candidate in the morning. So it's a food bank drive. So bring a can of food for the food bank, and I'll buy you a cup of coffee. And so we're having that at Tandem this Sunday. If it rains, we have a plan. We're going to get wet. And so I hope you can make it out. We're doing block walking. We're raising money. As you mentioned, election reform hasn't happened yet, so we got to raise some money. So any volunteers that want to do block walking, want to just learn more about what I'm doing, want to help in some other way, please reach out via the website and the email, and I'll be happy to talk.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining. Thank you for everybody watching and just being engaged with everything. Yeah, let's do these.
I like it.
Not mine, but
yours. You have an S and a Z.
Yeah. But thank you everybody for joining. And again, if you want to donate or sponsor this podcast, please do. We're looking to we're going to continue this for sure. But we're looking to possibly going over to a studio. Because I've had people wanting me to do that. So I'm excited. But yeah, thank you for just joining, listening, participating, and make sure you reach out to Marcello and all the other candidates, regardless of district, whatever district you're in, reach out to them, ask them questions. If you want to ask me to ask them, I'll ask it for you. So it's fine. But this is what we're trying to do, is participation, because these are going to be possibly your next elected officials that will be controlling the infrastructure, controlling the city in a sense. So definitely make sure you reach out and ask these questions. So thank you, Marcello. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, everybody.